Hey everybody, welcome to a Fab Fit Friday technical issue episode. I've been talking to myself for the past like 3 or 4 minutes. I forgot to press go live because I scheduled this to start and then I forgot to say go live, so I thought I was talking to you and clearly I wasn't. So let me start over. Welcome to Fab Fit Friday. I just want to apologize up front. As you may have heard last week, I am working on a really exciting project down at Threads Magazine next week, and I'm going to be gone all week. And it was kind of a last minute opportunity that sort of crushed some of my regularly scheduled activities, like the bias top sew along, because I've had to do a lot of other work that I hadn't anticipated with this new project that cropped up. So I apologize that I don't have I don't have as much finished on this, but I did wash the samples, and what I want to do today is show you the samples of the linen that I shared with you last week during the fabric haul from Fabric Mart, where I showed all my linen. Now what I want to do is show you how they look washed, and then I'm just going to sort of show you my plan for my v-neck top and dress that I'm going to be starting a week from Friday. So next week I will not be live at all because, again, I won't be here, but I will be gearing up for a fresh launch of my bias top that I'm working on. And of course now I have my now I have my fabrics washed. Well, the samples are washed, and the fun thing is, now that I wash those samples, we can see some things like how much the linen shrunk. Does it feel different? Did it fade? I have a bunch of things that we're going to look at. Then I'm going to share with you some of the details for my top and dress. And then I'm going to sign off because I have a lot of stuff to do today that I'm super excited about. So I'm going to switch my view here. Let me see. Let me go over here. Okay, so let me just move this paper out of the way for a second. So here are my swatches that I washed. I'm just going to brighten up my lighting here a little bit so we can see what I'm doing. Here we go. Okay, so the interesting thing with these swatches is that I cut 6-inch squares, and they were exactly 6 inches when I cut them. So what I want to show you here, hey Vicki, welcome. First thing we're going to look at is, did they shrink? And did they change in hand or feel? So this is a plain weave red linen, and you can see it did shrink about 1/4 of an inch across the cross grain, but it did not shrink vertically. Maybe it did a little bit over here. I mean, it's hard to tell because it's sort of on a slope. So maybe it did a little bit. I mean, it's a little short there, but I think mostly this one shrunk in the cross grain. Now, how can I tell that this is the cross grain and this is the vertical grain? When I cut my swatches out to wash, I made sure I had some of the selvage on one end, and then I only had to finish 3 sides to put it in the washing machine so it wouldn't unravel, because linen can be very fraying, or it can fray. So basically I cut a 6-inch square with one side being the selvage. That gives me the information of what's the vertical and what's the cross grain. Pat is saying, has anyone else worked with linen cotton blends? I am making a pair of modified happy pants with pleats, and the fabric is very rough on the inside. The fabric is so rough. I have had Okay, if I hold this right in front of my face, Vicky, is that better? I'm going to be looking into getting a different microphone. This microphone is a pain in my butt. It's a fancy Rode microphone, but it's directional. If it's not right near my face, then it's hard to hear me. So I'm going to try to keep it really right near my mouth while I'm talking. All right, so the thing about linen is linen can be scratchy. And one of the things I was looking for is, will it become softer after it's washed? And I do have, I'm trying to remember which one. Hold on one second. I mean, technically I don't have to remember because I didn't take the stickers off of the actual fabric yet. So let me just see if I can find the one that was a cotton blend. This is a rayon. That's rayon. Hold on. All right. So this one is a rayon linen blend. Is it this one that's the cotton? Hold on. I didn't take the stickers off the main fabric yet, so I could keep track of which one was which. Let me just see. What's this? Where's my sticker for this one? Okay, so this one is 100% linen. So this one I got to test the print, if the print would fade or be less giving. Oh, all right. Vicky says she usually watches on her smart TV, but here it's the computer. All right, I'm just going to really try to keep myself really close to my microphone. I'm suspecting this one is my linen cotton. All right, so this is my linen cotton, and Pat, I have to tell you, I was really hoping that this one would become softer when I washed it, because this one does feel a little bit scratchy. And when I feel my sample, like when I compare them, it may be a little bit softer. I'm guessing the more I wash and wear it, the more the fibers will break down, you know, and I'll be able to soften this up a little bit. It seems strange to me that out of all of my samples, the one that has the cotton linen blend is the scratchiest. So out of all the ones that I have here, this one is the linen cotton blend, and like I said, it is a little bit scratchy. I do think this one feels better than this one, so I think washing it might help make it less rough. And also, if it's yarn dyed, you can see this is yarn dyed because the white yarn shows on both sides, or thread fibers. It shouldn't matter if it's on the right side or the wrong side. It should feel the same if it's a plain weave and the threads are dyed. So I'm not sure why yours feels rougher on the inside, maybe because it's against your skin and that's where you can feel it. But I will tell you, washing it did help. So maybe put it through the washer a couple more times and it might soften. Let's check this one for shrinkage. So again, this was a cotton linen blend, and what I'm noticing here is it's almost like the selvage shrunk. Oops, I'm sorry, let me move over here. It's almost like the selvage shrunk because, again, these were perfect 6-inch squares when I before I washed them, and you can see it tightens up over here a little bit. So I'm guessing, maybe I'm gonna guess that the white thread is the cotton thread and the rest of this is just linen. That's what I'm gonna guess for this one, because all of this white in the selvage shrunk more than the linen. So I'm thinking this shrunk here because it was more cotton fibers versus the blue that's the linen fiber. So, but this one really didn't shrink at all except right there. So that's kind of interesting. All right, and then this one is the rayon um, linen blend. And you can see this did not really shrink at all anywhere, which I find really strange because rayon usually shrinks a lot. I expected this one to have really shrunk, and it didn't. So go figure. It's very soft. This is like a gauzy. This is probably my most sheer linen that I got out of the bunch, and you can see the grid through the fabric if I shine the light through it. So this is a very sheer, and it feels a little bit softer than the original. So here's my original. Here's the washed one. This is going to be really pleasant to wear, I think. So that's the linen rayon one. Then the next one I want to show you is this yarn dyed linen here, this plaid. I absolutely love this fabric, and look at the interesting thing that happened with this one. When I line it up on a 6-inch square, you can see this one only shrunk in the vertical direction. So it meets perfectly 6 inches cross grain, because here's my selvage, but notice it shrunk almost a 1/4 inch across the bottom vertically. And that can happen sometimes because sometimes the weave of the fabric, the warped threads, are the stronger vertical threads, and then the weft threads are coming across cross grain. And it's very common for fabric to shrink vertically, and that's why it's super important to wash and really wash and hang your garments before you actually hem them, because that's how you can lose length after you hem something if you don't wash it ahead of time. So the fact that it lost a 1/4 inch on 6-inch sample means across a whole maxi dress, it would be inches shorter. So that's something really interesting to note here. I absolutely love this fabric. It looks exactly the same, right side and wrong side, because it's yarn dyed. And this one is 100% linen. Let me just verify that. Pretty sure. I should have taken I should have taken the stickers. This is how silly I am. I should have taken the stickers and I should have just stuck them onto my samples after I dried them. Oh, actually, this is a cotton, rayon, and linen blend, this one. So I'm going to go ahead and do this now that I've washed my samples. I'll put them on there. So this one is cotton, rayon, and linen. It has almost like a weird tropical wool feel to it. It's kind of weird. So basically, excited about that one. I'm going to put that aside now, and I'm just going to stick my stickers on my samples, so going forward I will know where they are, and then I won't have to guess on what my fabrics are. So I'll put these away as I share them with you. And then the other thing I want to tell you is I'm going to wash, obviously now I'm going to wash all these fabrics. So during the week, or by the next time we get together a week from Friday, I will have everything washed, and I'll be ready to start sewing. And I'm going to show you my idea for my top. And I have this little story I want to tell. Oh, Escape Mom 10 says, love linen viscose blends. That looks so comfy. Yeah, it is. It's really, these fabrics are really nice. I'm so happy with all of the fabrics. All right, let me just get my sticker here. Sorry, I really feel like I should have done this before I came on. All right, so there's that one. All right, and then the red one we know is just a plain linen. This is the first one we looked at. This one is very crisp, and I think it got a little bit softer. The one linen I forgot to swatch was my black linen, but the black linen I think is similar to my red linen. Let's get that out and look at it. I'm gonna have to do a swatch test on it. Here, hold on 1 second. See, I feel like this is the same weight and feel as the red. So I would anticipate they would act the same. So I forgot to cut a swatch of this one. All right, so the last one I have is this soft chambray woven linen, and this is 100% yarn dyed linen. Yes, it is 100% linen. And this one washed up really nice. Got my sticker on there, and we can see that the chambray the chambray linen also just shrunk in the vertical direction again. So it made it a cross grain, but it did shrink in the vertical direction. So I think that's interesting. You know, some of the fabric shrunk in both directions a little bit. Some shrunk just in the vertical grain line direction, and some really didn't shrink at all. So it's kind of cool to see what's going to happen with these things. All right, so this fabric here is a red sample of what my inspiration dress was. So what I want to do is I'm going to sort of do a sketch, and we're just going to come right out and realize that Jennifer is not a good sketcher. So I'm going to use my whiteboard here to save paper. It doesn't work. Well, because it's okay. All right. My husband's in here trying to troubleshoot my audio. He thinks the mic is too close to my face.
No, you're this way.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna put my whiteboard right here. I'm gonna talk right into the microphone, and I'm going to. Well, honey, I have to show this. Okay. So
It's really got to go. Get off this camera for a second.
okay, I'm gonna go onto my face camera for a second. Okay, my husband's trying to troubleshoot my audio live. This is exciting. Let me just stop and see. Oh, hey Janice, welcome. You love the idea of labels on the swatches. Yes, I'm so happy I thought of that last minute. And now I can keep those in my sample book, and I'll know what I'm looking at. And Vicky says hello from Virginia. Hello, hello. Escape 10 Mom says I have my volume all the way up. I know, we're working on it. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to explain to you what the inspiration is for my top.
Now it's going to work.
And my dress. All right, so I'm going to switch back to my table shot.
I don't know if I've got it lined up right.
Can you pull it right there? That's perfect. That's perfect. Perfect.
All right, it's going to be really loud.
Okay, so now I think, let me know if the volume is better now.
It was on auto.
Oh.
Somebody switched.
I was on auto, and now I'm on the right setting apparently. Oh, it's much better. Thank you so much for letting me know. All right, maybe this is the solution to my problem that I've been having. Thank you, honey. Okay, so what I want to do here is I just want to show you. I'm going to just draw a very basic shaped dress here. So there's the armhole, and then here is. Now you can see I really am not a good drawer. Like I'm. Oh, good. So many people are chiming in to say that my audio is better. That makes my heart so happy. I've been like a nervous wreck trying to figure out my audio. All right. So Pat says once I wash my Fabric Mart fabric, I put the labels back on, fold it on the selvage, and the sound is good. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. So if my husband's still watching down in his studio, thank you, honey. All All right. So that's a good idea to put those stickers back on. But I'm also thinking now, you know, having them on the swatches like this, I'll be able to reference them. And then, you know, once I use up the fabric, I'll still have them on here. So I'm kind of happy that I thought to do that. All right, so let's look at this top for a second. This is a basic V-neck top. Now in the back, it's going to look like this. So it's going to have just a back neckline like this. There's the shoulder, armholes, and then here's my side seams. Now in the back, there's going to be a seam right below the armhole. And I think that having the top of the bodice in the back be on the straight of grain, I really think this is going to be straight of grain like this, right? And then the bottom is going to be on the bias like this. And in the front, the whole front of the dress or the top is going to be one piece on the bias like this. So this is what I'm going to be designing. Now, here are the considerations when you're designing a garment on the bias. There are some additional things you have to think about. So for example, one of the things that we have to figure out is when this fabric is on the bias, so it's going to be hanging from my body like this, right? Because the bias is a 45-degree angle. So it's going to be hanging like this from my shoulders. So what I have to figure out is how much is the fabric going to stretch in this direction, right? Because if I make my bodice and I use my, let's say I use my high bust measurement, I make sure I have room in my full bust, I make sure I have room in my, you know, my waistline and in the hem, and it fits nice. What can happen is after it's on, it can actually drag down and elongate like this, and it becomes skinnier. So as the bias falls, it falls against your body and it becomes a form-fitted garment, which is why you want to do bias. That's one of the reasons why you want to do bias, because it creates a garment that sort of drapes onto you without pulling and being snug. So that's another thing that's unique to bias, and that's, I think, one of the primary reasons why you would make something on the bias. So my measurements through all of my key areas here, here, and here are going to be bigger than if I were making a regular top on the straight of grain. So number one, we're going to make it a little bit wider than I would normally because it's going to fall. And as it hangs, it's going to become more slender. So that's the first consideration. The second consideration is I'm going to use really large seam allowances, because when you're sewing on the bias, having a larger seam allowance is really helpful because you want to stretch your seams as you sew, because the side seams, especially here, if they're going to be falling and lengthening as the garment hangs, the seam has to have give to allow the fabric to do that. So we're going to have 1.5 inch seam allowances. We're going to have wider horizontal measurements. And those are the two things I'm going to be considering. So I'm going to work with making a top first, and then after I make the top, I'm going to also extend it into a dress. So it will be a 2 different garments when it's all said and done. And the dress will not have a seam. It will just be, you know, a single piece here. So this is my plan for my dress. I'm really sorry that I haven't gotten farther along, and I'm sorry this is going to be a really short Fab Fit Friday because I have a ton of things to do before Monday to get ready for next week. So I just wanted to come on and show you my swatches. I wanted to show you what I'm going to be making, and I'm going to be starting with one of my knit patterns to work with this. So if anybody wants to draft along with me, we're going to be working with a pattern in my collection. So if you guys want to do a what do I want to say? If you guys want to sew along with me and adapt a knit tee top into a bias top, have that ready for 2 Fridays from now, and because that's what we're going to be doing the next time we get together. I'm going to be working with the pattern. So you can use any pattern you want. I'm going to use the tee for my tee twin set pattern, or my tank top pattern. I haven't decided. Maybe my tank top pattern. But in any case, we're going to be taking measurements and we're going to be adjusting it for bias. Okay, so let me see here. Learn with Lillian says she loves my videos. Thank you so much, Lillian, and thank you for coming. Ginger Snapped 7 says, what length when stitching when sewing? All right, so to create a stretchier straight stitch, I shorten my stitch length some, because where is the stretch coming from when you're working with a straight stitch? The stretch comes every time the needle thread picks up the bobbin. So if I had a long stitch like this, or I had a short stitch like this, this one would be stretchier, because every time the bobbin, the needle thread goes down to get the bobbin, that's where it builds in stretch. A long straight stitch, this whole block of stitch here is not stretchy if you're using regular all-purpose thread, and you're only getting the stretch in, you know, as it comes down. Now obviously if you stretch your fabric a little bit, it's going to take a bigger bite out of the fabric because you're stretching it, right? And then when it's released, it'll load a little bit more stretch into the seam. But again, using a shorter stitch length is going to give you more stretch. And having an 1.5 inch seam allowance is going to give you a very generous seam allowance to work with, so you can sew accurately while you're stretching. So that's why I'm going to be having a larger seam allowance and a shorter stitch length, and I'm going to stretch my fabric as I sew a little bit. Escape 10 Mom says, I cannot wait to see your top. Well, you can make one too. Just grab yourself a tee or tank pattern and we'll work with it two Fridays from today. Vicky says the neckline will be more balanced if you have a center front seam. That may be true, but I'm going to try doing my dress one piece for the front. Now, where are we going to have a seam on the skirt pieces? I'm sure you've all seen this. To get the width I need here at the hem, because it's going to be floor length, I will have to have a seam. And the seam is going to be like this. Have you ever seen that on a skirt where you have to piece the skirt because it's not wide enough to cut out the bias? So there will be a seam in the skirt here just to finish the width of the hem. Okay, so I will be showing you how to do that when we get to the dress part of this. I'm anticipating this project is going to take most of the summer. I do want to have them finished by August, so sometime in August is when we'll be finishing these tops. We'll start 2 Fridays from today to sew them, to make the pattern and to adjust it for bias fitting, and then we will work on starting to sew it, and then also I'm going to develop it into a dress. So this is going to be a long-term project, and I'm going to blow through some of these linens I have practicing making the top, I think. I'm so excited to have a summer top that's not a tank top, because most of my summer tops are either a dress or a tank top, or I have a couple short sleeve tees, but mostly they're knit. So I'm really excited to be working with something other than knit to make some tops. Okay, so Learn with Lillian says, if you have the time, baste and hang for a week before final seaming. Yeah, that's another really good tip. And that's part of the reason why this sew along is going to be a little bit longer than some of my other ones, because we may start something and I may put it on a dress form and keep it there for an extended period of time to see what happens, because it does change and lengthen and skinny as it hangs over time. So it's going to be really fun playing with bias fabrics. I'm also going to find myself some, those are all linen. Another thing I like to work with on the bias is rayon challis. So I might find some rayon challis to work with. And I'm really, really excited. So I just want to thank you all for hanging out with me. I'm going to do my best to shoot a Fit Tip Tuesday before I leave. If there's no Fit Tip Tuesday, then you know it's because I ran out of time. So my first priority between now and Monday is getting ready for next week. And then after that, I will just, I promise you I'll be back to normal once I get back from this trip, because going forward, I'm teaching pants fitting. This is another thing. If anybody signed up for my July luxury time-paced pants fitting class, I'm teaching my whole scoop pants fitting class the 8th and 9th, so Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern Standard Time, and then also on the 14th or the 15th and 16th, whatever the next Saturday and Sunday are, next weekend. So I'm really excited about that class because I'm limiting it to 10 people so I can really pay attention to everybody, and it's a very generous 12-hour class. So if anybody was considering doing pants fitting with me, there are a couple spots left in that, you know, and we're going to be working with my Sourcia Classic Slim Trousers. So I do have a PDF option, so you can have that printed and ready to go by Saturday, tomorrow. But just to let you know, this is my most generous class offering to date, because it's normally an 8-hour class, and I've extended it to 12 hours to give myself time and my students time to work in class. So I'll be teaching Saturday, Sunday, off to Newtown Monday to Friday. Then I'll be back on the weekend to finish teaching my pants. Then I have a little breather before I go to the National ASG Conference, end of July. And here's the cool thing about the conference this year. It's in New York City, where I can drive myself. It's a 3-hour drive from my house, so I will be packing up and driving there instead of flying. Once I get back from the National ASG Conference, I have a weekend of classes that I'm teaching that were originally hosted by Stitches events. So I have another pants fitting class, the Great Rub Off, pattern grading, and how to adjust non-stretch for stretch fabric. So if you're interested in any of that, head over to my website to my upcoming workshops. There's space in all those classes if anybody's interested in joining us. If you happen to be watching and you paid Stitches events for these classes, please contact me. You get to take the class with me for free. I'm not going to recharge you to take the class. So those classes were put in place at the approximate same times as the Stitches schedule for my students who signed up with Stitches, but I'm also opened it up for other people to sign up. So I got that the first week in August, then I'm all yours until I'm actually August and September. I have nothing till the end of September that I have to travel for. And then I have an event in Kansas. And then I have, in October, I have Kentucky. And then I have the Houston Quilt Show, and then I'm done. So I only have 3 more travel things this year. So I will have plenty of time to keep us on schedule after I get through this week that's coming up. Let me just see. Janice? Oh, Tana was sewing and she forgot about me. Oh, that's okay, Tana. If you were sewing, that's a valid reason to forget about my Fab Fit Friday. I'm happy you were sewing. Janice says, thank you for the inspiration. Pat says, normal is overrated. totally agree with you there. And Vicky says, I had a great time at my first and only ASG conference. They are a lot of fun. My whole thing is when I get to the conference, after I set up my booth and I get myself situated, my next thing is I try to go into a let's stop and smell the roses frame of mind, because it flies by. Like when I'm teaching, the whole day goes by before I realize it. So I always try to like slow time down when I'm at these things, because I get to see friends that I don't normally see, people from around the country, plus I love teaching. So it just flashes by in a hot second for me normally. So I'm always trying to slow down my experience. So that's what I'm doing when I'm at ASG or any other sewing event for that matter. Vicky is wondering where in Kansas I'm going. So Vicky, are you aware of the University of Kentucky has a volunteer garment sewing program where you can become trained to teach sewing, and then you volunteer your time in your community? Janine, who runs that program out of the University of Kentucky, contacted me last year to ask if I wanted to volunteer my time to come and teach. And I did, and I had an amazing time. So I'm going back again this year, and I think it's going to be such a fun time. It's such an amazing group of women and men who are involved with learning how to sew garments, and then they volunteer their time. So I'm going to volunteer my time too to go teach at this event. It's going to be super exciting. And that's going to be I think that's the third full week in October. It's either the third or fourth week in October, and then I come home for a few days and I fly out to Houston for the Houston Quilt Festival. So the end of October, beginning of November is going to be very busy, but I don't want to think about that yet because I'm still in float in my pool mode. It's July. I want to enjoy my summer. So I just wanted to assure everybody that after I get back from ASG, I'm going to really be here to do all of my online stuff with you guys. I won't have to disrupt my Fab Fit Friday, my subscriber Q&A Wednesday, or my Fit Tip Tuesdays. I'll be able to just get all that stuff done because I'm not going to be going anywhere till the end of September. Hi, Lean. You came here just in time for me to sign off. This is a kind of quick one today because I have a lot of stuff to do. I just want to remind you, I'm not going to be here at all next week. I'm going to be down in Newtown working on something for a week. Kansas. Oh, it is Kentucky. I'm sorry. Oh, wait. So Kansas, I'm sorry. University of Kentucky is the volunteer program. Kansas is the garment group I'm going to be teaching a 3-day workshop for at the end of September. So Kansas is garment group. University of Kentucky is the volunteer program that I'm volunteering at. So sorry about that if I said that wrong. Lean is saying to me, Learn with Lillian says, enjoy New York. I'm in Connecticut too, Branford, just east of New Haven. Oh my goodness, we're practically neighbors. I live up near Hartford in the center of the state, but that is beautiful down there in Branford. Wonderful. All right, so yep. Hi, hey DIYer girl. So no YouTube videos at all next week. I'm going to really try to get a Fit Tip Tuesday done because I can schedule that. So if I have time this weekend, I'm going to shoot that and get that up there for Tuesday. I want to try to leave you with something. So it will be body specific adjustments for your pants pattern. That'll be the topic, and I'm really hoping to get it I'm really hoping to get it done, so I do have one thing up next week. So I'm hoping to get that done. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Lean says, I didn't know you were live today. Busy bee. Hope you enjoy it. I definitely will. And just so you know, if you want to design along with me, get your favorite tank or t-shirt pattern ready, because that's what I'm going to draft my bias v-neck top from starting a week from Friday. So that's going to be the plan going forward for this summer. And I just want to thank everybody for hanging out with me for a little bit today. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I hope you enjoyed your 4th of July holiday. I really did. I had a nice day, even though it poured and thundered and lightning for most of the day. It did clear up at the end. So that worked out nice. But anyway, so thank you. And I'll see you for subscriber Q&A on Wednesday. Will be the first time you'll see me live a week from this Wednesday coming up. All right, so that's when I'll be back. It'll be a new topic because I think I finished all the raglan sleeve things. So I'll see you for subscriber Q&A a week from Wednesday, and I'm hoping to get Fit Tip Tuesday up. So you guys have a great week, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Okay, bye.